Hey there, I'm Sia. Today we're going to build a blog that's made with Notion as a CMS, just like the one you're seeing right now. This is actually a blog I made for my own website, GenPPT, which is an AI that generates PowerPoints automatically for you. You just choose a theme and it's going to automatically generate the entire presentation with all the content for you. As you can see, we have a blog here that's completely powered with Notion. You can click on any element and it's going to give you the entire blog with everything formatted just like we have in Notion. To demonstrate that, I'm going to open it up, and as you can see, we have two elements right now in my Notion, which is the database that we're going to be using. It's completely free, no cost at all. So as you can see, we have two elements right here. I can click on one, open it up, and you will see we have different tags, descriptions, slugs, and all that. We're not going to be going into all the details, but you can extend it as much as you want on your own. As you can see, we have the different formatting with H1, H2 elements, and it's going to automatically take that over to our blog as well. So we can just focus on editing the content in Notion and have our blog ready. It's all live updated with caching, everything already implemented. So as you can see, it's completely identical to our blog right here. So let's get started. How do we actually build this thing? Well, the first thing we want to do is create a new Notion database. So for that, we can go here in our Notion and add a new page. Let's call it Notion Database CMS Tutorial. Okay, so now we already have that going. The next thing we can do is add something like, let's say, a gallery, which is what I like to do because it's really nice. And then right here, you see this button, New Gallery, which says Start a Blank Database. We're going to click that, and now we have created a new database. This database is available 24/7. It's completely free, powered by Notion, and we're going to use that in our blog. So we have absolutely no cost for hosting this entire thing. Well, the first thing we want to do is actually go in and edit the Notion database to have what we want with the properties and all that already set in place so we can get started using it. So for that, we're going to click on these three dots right here, and you're going to see this menu pop up. In this menu, we're going to click on properties, and in here, we're already going to have two properties set. So if I open a page, for example, you're going to see we have these two properties that we just saw already set in place. These are actually going to be useful. So if we go back here, the created one is already very useful. We can change the name to, let's say, title. And then instead of hidden in gallery, we can actually push that up so it gets shown. So we can actually see when it was created. We're actually going to leave that as it is because it's already useful, the title as well. Those are very clear options. And then the next one we're going to add, or maybe actually we can rename that to date. You can name it whatever you want. Just keep in mind you're going to have to rename the variables depending on that later. So the next property we're going to add is a status right here. And this status, we can just leave it as status and not start it. Let's put that to created, the blue one to draft, and done. We can change that maybe to live. Okay, awesome. So now we have that created. So this should actually be it. We can now go to the next step. For that, we're going to have to open our browser, and not just the browser, but the exact same thing. So again, Notion, go over to the database we just created, and now we have a link here, and in this link you're going to see this portion right here. So before the question mark but after the slash, we want to copy this portion and add something new, and we're going to call it Notion information. So right here is where we're going to paste it in, and this is going to be our Notion database ID. This is going to be useful for later. So right now we have this created, so we can go to the next step. For that, we're going to go over to the developer portal for Notion for the My Integrations part. So the link for that would just be notion.so/myintegrations. In here, we're in a developer portal, so you might have to log in first to access it, but after that, you can create a new integration right here. We're going to create the integration, choose our associated workspace, and the name, let's just call it tutorial blog. You can upload a logo. I'm going to skip that for now. And it's going to show us our internal integration secret. It's very important that you copy this somewhere safe so that it doesn't get stolen or anything, because otherwise someone else might be able to access everything. So internal integration secret, boom, paste that here. And now we have already all the information that we are going to need. What you want to do as well is maybe take off the update and insert, because we're not going to be needing that, and our API is not going to need that. We're only going to be reading stuff. So we want to take that off. So in case something goes wrong and someone gets our secrets, they're not going to be able to change anything. They're only going to be able to read stuff. And with that, we're already going to be in the next step. So step number 3, which is setting up the project. I already did that, but you can do the exact same thing. It's just a normal Nextjs project, nothing special, nothing new. So just do that and then come back to this video. So the next step, which we are going to do after you set up your project, is we're going to create a .env.local. And in here, we're going to be pasting our Notion information. So we can call it Notion underscore database underscore ID, have our ID right here, and then the Notion underscore token, and copy your token, boom. So we have the 2 variables that we need now. Now we can go over to the next step, which is actually creating the Notion library file, which is going to help us with fetching all the files and all that, so we don't have to do that each time. So now that we've created our local env file, we can go over and download all the npm packages that we're going to need. I have a command down below in the replies, so just go check that out, copy it, and download all the npm packages that we're going to need. So just waiting for that to finish, we can already go to the next step, which is creating our lib folder. So in your source, just create a lib folder, and in this lib, create a notion.ts file. In this notion.ts, the first thing we want to do is import server only. This is going to make sure our Notion actually only gets used in server components. The next thing is initializing Notion. So export const Notion equals client, and make sure to import from Notion HQ/client, boom. And in here, we're gonna say auth process.env.notion underscore token. Make sure to also put the new in front of it, because otherwise it's gonna throw an error, just as you saw. And the next step is creating the first function, which is export const fetch pages, and that's going to be a react.cache function, and inside we're going to create a new function. And the reason we choose react.cache is just to further cache it down. Vercel already has caching, and depending on how you want it, you might have to disable some stuff, like I did on genppt.com, because I didn't want caching to happen all the time, because Vercel has very long caching. Sometimes it will interfere with the live updates, but for now we're going to keep the react.cache so it gets saved both locally and on Vercel. So first thing is just returning directly notion.databases.query, and in here we're going to say database ID boom. I think this is what we called it. Yeah, the Notion database ID. And then in here, we're going to say filter. Also make sure to put an exclamation mark in there, because otherwise it's going to give out undefined. So in the filter, we want to say property status, and then select equals published, but instead we're going to say live. Okay. The reason we're doing that is to filter out all the ones that are not live. As you saw, we created 3 different statuses, which is created, draft, and live. And the only ones we want to fetch when we actually put them on our website is the live status. So with that being said, that's everything we need to do. As you can see, super easy and simple. So let's go over to the next function. The next function we're going to need is export const fetch by slug. And same thing here, boom, can just autocomplete react.cache slug string. Actually, let's just autofill that. React Notion database query, yeah, that's correct. Database ID, all correct. And then filter by slug with, instead of text, we're going to say rich text and equals to slug, which we're going to pass as a parameter. And then right here, before it ends, we can say .den, and in here say res.results, boom, 0 as page object response, or it's going to be undefined, boom, just like that. So that should be the entire function that we have right here. And don't forget to close this off right there. This is going to be our fetch by slug function, which is going to allow us to just parse in a slug and fetch a page based on that. For that, we also create a new property right here. So go back into your Notion, go into properties, create a new property, and just call it slug. It can be just a normal text, and that should be it. So now if we go, let's say, into page 1, we're going to see slug. And we can just parse in a slug right now, for example, water bottles, and just call this water bottle use case, I don't know. And for the tags, let's just put water, boom, and delete all that, and maybe put an H1 saying, why is water so cool? And some text, boom. So now we have our first blog post right here. I'm gonna set that to live, go back, and now also make sure to have the same lowercase, uppercase letters. So the casing is very important. If you're gonna have slug written in lowercase letters, make sure it's already set like that. And then we're gonna go over to the next function. And the next function is gonna be the fetch page blocks. So we can actually get the page blocks that we're gonna need. So fetch page blocks equals react.cache ID. We're gonna change that to page ID just to make it a bit clearer what we're actually giving out, and close it off right here. Okay, and we're gonna return Notion blocks.children list, and in here we're gonna say, or actually, yes, we're gonna say block ID, page ID, and .then again to just return the results, and this time res.results as block object response, and this is going to be an array, so make sure to put that there. And this is actually it. This is the entire thing to create a blog with Notion. This is absolutely everything you need. So now we can actually go over to creating our page. So this is going to be our page. We can delete all the content that we have right here from the starter page. and it's actually, whoa, that's a lot. We can delete all of that and just in here say create a new const, call it post, and we're going to say await, make that async as well. So we're going to use server components just like we said, and await fetch pages, boom, call this posts, fetch pages, and now we're going to create a new page, so new folder, and let's just call this blog, and in the blog we're going to say create a dynamic page with slug, and in the slug we're going to create page.tsx, so this is going to be actually our blog page, the actual page where the content is going to be displayed. So in here again say export default async function page, or page, like that. And in the parameters we're gonna need to add params with type params slug string, just like auto-completed right here. Boom. So now we have our slug, we have the page where the content is going to be displayed, and we can use our function. So this is where we are going to say const post await fetch by slugs, import from libnotion, and if there's no post, we can just return a div post not found, or maybe a 404 page, or whatever you want to put there. And then we're going to say const content equals await fetch page blocks, and get the post.id, which we declared here, and we're just going to return nothing for now. So we have that behind us. Then the next step, as we can see, we have everything set, we have the content, and we're going to need Tailwindcss for this to actually format the entire thing. So if you don't have Tailwindcss in your Nextjs, make sure you have it, because it's going to make so many things easier with their typography. Just download it and you're good to go. So let's rename this actually to blocks to make it a bit simpler, because it's not going to be the actual content that's going to be displayed in the end. And we can say const renderer equals a new Notion renderer. This is just going to help us render the entire thing with the client set as Notion. Boom. Don't forget to update Notion from libnotion. And then we can say renderer.use, and we're just going to put in some plugins. So hljs-plugin, and in here make sure to just give it something. It can also be empty. So next one is renderer.use, and we're going to say bookmark-plugin, and in here we can just say undefined. Just give it nothing at all. I don't know why, but it's fine with that as well, so why not? Now we have those two plugins inserted. We can go over to the next, which is going to be const html equals await render.render blocks, but we're going to change that to ... blocks, like that. That way it doesn't give us an error, and we can actually use it in our app. And then we can return a div, boom, just like that. And in here, dangerously set inner HTML and use the HTML. No, actually made a mistake. Boom, HTML, like this. Okay, that's going to display our entire content on the page that we have. So now if we run this, npm run dev, and we go over to our browser, open up localhost 3000, and wait for the page to render, we're actually going to get an error because I forgot to add one thing. If we go to our Notion page and to our database, we need to click on the three dots up here and connect to, and we need to actually connect it to the integration that we just created. So for that, we're going to search for it, And when we find it right here, tutorial blog, we're going to connect to it and click confirm. So now it's connected. So now if we go back, we should be able to just reload it, and it works. It works perfectly. So as you can see, why is water so cool? And some text, just like we did earlier. This is so cool because we can now edit everything and it's just going to update live. So let's try that. Some text, and after that, let's try adding a bullet list. So /bulleted list and item 1, item 2, item 3. Boom. Save that. And now if we reload, you can see that we have all the items here. You might have to reload a couple of times because it's cached. So just like I said earlier, everything gets cached locally. So you might have to reload a couple of times, but after that it should work. And now we have all these things, but we want to add typography to it. We want it to be automatically formatted. So first of all, let me give a quick jump cut so we can actually get a white background. Okay, so I'm back. Here we have everything in white, and we're going to go over to adding typography so it automatically gets styled. This is actually a really easy process. The only thing we're going to do is open our command line right here and just say npm install -d and add tailwindcss/typography. And now we have typography installed. Now what we can do is go over to our Tailwind config, and right here in plugins we're going to say require Tailwind CSS typography. So now we have typography added to our app. If we reload, you're going to see nothing happens, and that is because we haven't added it yet to the component. So just go there, class name, and then say pros. So now if we reload, you see everything is formatted. It's perfect. So now we actually want to go back to here, and remember when we had all the posts, we want to display them. So we're not going to style it that much, but we're just going to say posts.results.map, and in here we're going to say post, boom, boom. And for each we're going to say return, and we can return, yeah, we can just paste that in here. No image, we don't want an image. And we can just say post.properties. Actually, if you have this right here, they currently have a bug. So if you encounter this at all, it's important that you remember this. They currently have a bug where the types don't really get used that well when you fetch all the pages. So you can just say as any, which kind of defeats the purpose of TypeScript, but it is what it is, I guess. So not as any, just this. And now if we go back, boom, we can go back to our main page. Oh, and also don't forget, like, we just had an error because of that. The select right here, you have to make sure it's the correct type. So right here we have a status object, not a select object. So we can put that away, just select status, and it should equal to live. So now if we reload the page, you see we get a different error. Still not good, but it's better than before. So let's go back and inspect why. The reason is simple. We have name instead of title. So now you can see water bottle use case, water bottle use case. So this is awesome. We now have our own blog where we can go in and, let's say, add a link instead of a H2, boom, like this, and href, and now we can say just put the site name in, or you can just say /blog/ then in here we can say post.properties.slug.rich_text and 0.plain_text. It's kind of complicated to use all of this, but it works, so why not use it? And now if you see, we can click on this, and already in the bottom left corner you can see where it's going to take us, and it's going to take us right to our blog. So thank you very much for watching this entire thing. I hope it wasn't too long. It's the first time that I'm making a tutorial like this. People requested this, so I hope you like it, hope it helped you, and if it did, please interact so the algorithm gets boosted, and consider following me, because I'm definitely going to be doing more of this in the future. It was really fun. Have a great day. Bye.